All right, guys, so basically we're gonna start learning one-step equations type 1, all right? And this one is pretty simple because there's so many different programs that you can use to practice these, okay? So one-step equations, they basically look like this. You'll have a variable, it can be any letter, and then two numbers. So A and B are gonna represent numbers, and it'll be a plus or a minus sign for these types of problems, okay? So let me get rid of some of these letters so it looks a little bit less scary. So they'll usually look like this: x plus 2 equals 5, or x minus 2 equals 5. These numbers could be fractions, decimals, the larger numbers. I just chose simple numbers right here, so it could be nice and simple. But there'll always be a variable, a number on this side, a number on this other side of the equation, and either a plus sign or a minus sign for these types of one-step equations, all right? Now, let's go ahead and do an example here. Let me give you the rules first. So whenever you're doing one-step equations, you want to do the opposite of whatever's being done, okay? So what is the opposite of positive 2? It's negative 2, right? So we would subtract 2 from both sides. But before we get into all that, let me make this simple, okay? Before we get into the algebra, how would you solve this if you were a small child, right? Usually you've done this before. It's usually just like an X box, right? Like this, and they're asking you what is the missing number. So you would count up, right? Well, 2 plus what number is going to give you 5? 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is that? The missing number has to be 3, right? So this missing number is going to be 3. Now, how do we do that with algebra? I like to put some lines of organization around the equal sign. The equal sign is the most important part of the equation. That's why it's called an equation, because it has an equal sign. There's this side of the equation and then this side of the equation, okay? So remember, we just said that we always have to do the opposite, right? Of whatever's being done. So here you have your variable, and what are they doing with the variable? They're adding it with the 2. So the opposite of adding would be subtracting. So since they're adding 2, we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to subtract 2 from each side. You always do whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side to keep it equal, okay? So 2 minus 2, that goes away, and you're going to bring this part down, bring your equal sign down, and then 5 minus 2 is 3 again. So we get our same answer, 3, both ways. So the algebraic way, and then the easier way if you were in grade school. Let's do one more example. Say I had x minus 1 equals 6. Put my lines of organization. So I have to do the opposite of whatever they're doing to my variable. So here I have my variable, and they're subtracting 1. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we're going to add 1 to each side. So negative 1 plus 1, those are opposites. So that's going to be 0. It goes away. Bring down your x, bring down your equal sign. 6 plus 1 is 7. So your answer is 7. X equals 7. So here is a review of basically what we're doing. So whatever is being done to one side of the equation, or whatever is being done to the variable, do the opposite. This will isolate the variable. The whole goal of an equation is to get the variable by itself. And the third step is whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of the equation. So always do whatever you do to one side, you have to do the same thing to the other side. Here's another example from Delta Math. So if you notice now, the variables on the left side, it's addition. and here's your equal sign, and here's your number on the other side. It's okay if the variable is on the other side. That's totally fine. Here's the equation. I went ahead and put train tracks down the equal sign. And let's do the same thing. So again, this is a positive 9. They're adding a positive 9 to W. So in order to get rid of this positive 9, I'm going to subtract 9 from each side of the equation. 9 minus 9 is 0. It goes away. And then we bring down our variable. W equals 6 minus 9. Now, 6 minus 9 is not 3. Be careful with your positives and negatives. 6 minus 9. Can you do 6 minus 9? You can't, right? So you're going to get a negative number. 6 minus 9 will be less than 0. So it's going to be negative 3. So for this one, our answer will be W equals negative 3. All right, let's do one more example. So here I pulled up another problem on Delta Math, and I also wrote it on the board. So 2 equals n minus 6. Put my train tracks down. So here's my variable, that's the letter n, and I have minus 6. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we will add 6 to both sides of the equation. Negative 6 plus 6, those are opposite. It becomes 0. Bring down your n, equals 2 plus 6 is 8. So our answer is 8. N equals 8. So again, here are the steps to solve. Whatever is being done to your variable, do the opposite. This will isolate your variable, get it all by itself on one side of the equation. The variable needs to be by itself on one side of the equation. And then whatever you did to that side of the equation to get the variable by itself, do the same thing to the other side.